you're here. And maybe you don't even know why. You were scrolling half aware, maybe even just trying to quiet your thoughts. But something paused you. Something about this felt like it was meant for you. And no, not in some mystical, overhyped kind of way, but in the quiet gut-level way that makes you lean in and think, why does this feel familiar? That feeling, that nudge isn't random. It's not coincidence. It's not an accident. It's alignment. There are moments in life that don't knock, they whisper. They don't flash, they flicker gently, almost like candlelight. And if your heart's been aching, even if you haven't said it out loud, it knows. Because deep down, there's something in you that's been asking for this. A moment of pause. A mirror. A soft voice in the static saying, you don't have to keep running. But you've been running, haven't you? Not with your legs, but with your attention, your time, your heart. You've been moving through life like it's a script written by someone else, smiling at the right moments, nodding, performing, hoping no one notices that somewhere inside you've been drifting farther from yourself. You didn't come here to learn something new. You came here because something old, something true, is finally asking to be heard again. And maybe it's just a whisper now, buried under layers of noise, but it's there. That soft ache that says I miss who I used to be, before the world told me who I should become. You've been carrying it for a while, haven't you? That unspoken fatigue, the pressure to keep it together, the silent war between what feels true and what looks acceptable. This isn't about finding a grand answer. It's about finally sitting down with yourself and saying, I'm tired of pretending. And here you are, still listening, still breathing. That matters more than you know. Because most people scroll past the truth, but you paused. And that pause is everything. You didn't find this by accident. You're here because a part of you is ready, not to become someone else, but to come back to someone you've always been. And that's where everything begins. No one tells you that waking up hurts. Not the kind of hurt that bleeds, but the kind that leaves you staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. wondering who you've become. It's quiet. It's sharp. It feels like your soul is pulling threads loose, one by one, from a life you no longer recognize. And suddenly, the things that once made sense begin to crumble. You look back at your past and wonder, was I ever really choosing? Or was I just surviving? So much of what we call identity turns out to be armor, roles, masks, rehearsed smiles. The version of you that the world applauded might not have been the real you at all. Maybe it was the version you thought would be safest. And now that version is cracking. You don't know what's replacing it yet, but you know what can't stay. You start to question the rules you lived by. You start noticing how much of your life was built on borrowed beliefs, on unspoken fears, on someone else's definition of enough. Even your ambitions, were they ever truly yours? Or just echoes of what someone once told you mattered? It feels like you're falling apart. But what's really happening is that the false pieces are falling away. And that's terrifying. Because once the masks are gone, what's left? Just you. Unfiltered, unscripted, unknown. This is the part most people never talk about. The hollow space between stories. The part where you're not who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. It's the in-between. And it's brutal. You walk into rooms that once felt warm, and they feel cold now. You talk to people who once knew you, and you feel like a stranger in your own skin. Even your own thoughts betray you, one moment clear, the next full of doubt. But here's the truth that saved me. This unraveling, it isn't the end. It's the beginning. The messy, sacred beginning. It's not pretty. It's not poetic. It's pacing your room alone. It's leaving texts unread. It's not having the energy to explain what's happening because even you don't know. But still you stay. Still you breathe. Still you don't run. That's where your power lives. Not in pretending you've got it all together, but in daring to fall apart with your eyes open. You're not weak for breaking. You're courageous for letting go. And as everything starts to come undone, you'll begin to see that maybe it was never yours to hold in the first place. Maybe this version of you, the one with questions, with trembling hands, with silence heavy in the chest, is the most honest version there's ever been. And that is a beginning worth trusting. There comes a moment in the journey where everything goes quiet. No more noise to distract you. No more applause to chase. Just the mirror. Just you. And it's in that silence, uncelebrated, unphotographed, unshared, where everything truly begins to shift. Most people never make it this far. They feel the silence creeping in and immediately run. Back to the scroll, back to the next plan, back to someone else's voice filling the space. Because the truth is, silence can be terrifying. When there's nothing left to hide behind, all that remains is what you've been avoiding. The questions, the regrets, the longing, the emptiness you couldn't explain but always felt. And still here you are, still standing, still listening. That matters more than words can capture. Because this silence isn't punishment, it's invitation. It's the sacred ground where transformation begins, not with fanfare, but with stillness. You won't find a map here. No checklist. No mentor standing by with the right words. Only space. And in that space, the quiet voice that's been buried beneath years of pretending finally starts to speak. It doesn't sound like confidence. It sounds like doubt at first. Like, what if I never figure this out? Like, why does everything I used to love feel empty now? Like, what if I've outgrown a life I no longer know how to leave? Let those questions rise. Let them breathe. Because they are the doorway. You're not broken for feeling lost. You're not behind for taking longer to heal. You're not weak for needing the silence. You're human. And more than that, you're brave. Because it takes real courage to sit with your own soul when the world keeps begging you to perform. In this stillness, clarity doesn't come all at once. It comes in fragments, in soft realizations, in the simple honesty of admitting I don't know who I am anymore, but I want to find out. And that desire, pure, raw trembling, is your compass now. You may not know where you're going, but you've stopped pretending you don't feel the pull. And that alone makes you different. That alone makes this silence sacred. This part isn't supposed to make sense to everyone else. It's not their path. It's yours. So no, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Not for why you're pulling back. Not for why your circle is smaller. Not for why your smile is quieter and your gaze more distant. You're not disappearing. You're returning to yourself, to truth, to the sound of your own heart beating louder than the world's expectations. Let the silence hold you. Let it reshape you. Because this quiet moment, this stillness, might be the most honest conversation you've ever had. There's a moment, quiet and cruel, when the life you built starts to feel like it no longer belongs to you. Not because something outside has changed, but because you have. The places that once felt warm now feel distant. The conversations that used to light you up now drain something deep inside. Even the routines you once clung to feel hollow. And it's not because those things are bad. It's because they no longer fit the person you're becoming. This is the part no one prepares you for: the grief of outgrowing your own life. You walk through your days like a stranger in a house you designed. Everything is where it should be, but none of it feels like home anymore. And that disconnect, it's not failure. It's not a mistake. It's evidence of growth. You've been changing in ways you can't yet articulate. Not on the surface, but underneath. In the quiet chambers of your soul where no one else sees. In the way you feel truth rising when you try to fake a smile. In the way your body tenses when you say yes, but mean no. You can't go back to who you were, and you're not fully sure who you are becoming. And so, you exist in between. It's uncomfortable, it's isolating, but it's also sacred. This discomfort is a sign that your soul is stretching, making space for something more honest, more aligned. And yeah, it's messy. It means letting go of relationships that feel familiar but no longer real. It means standing in rooms that once embraced you and feeling like a ghost. It means saying, "I don't know what's next," and allowing that uncertainty to be your next step. You're not meant to stay in what you've outgrown, even if it's safe, even if it's celebrated, even if it once felt like everything you ever wanted. Because what once sustained you might now be stifling you. And no amount of pretending can silence that truth once you've heard it. You don't need to burn your life down. You just need to stop lying to yourself about what still fits. This part of the journey isn't glamorous. It's not Instagrammable. It's standing in a room full of people who love the old you and choosing to love the new you, even if no one else does. And that's power. The courage to not betray yourself, just to belong. The grace to say, "This is no longer for me," without needing anyone else to understand why. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to feel lost in a life that no longer reflects who you are. Because that loss, that disorientation, it's not the end. It's the invitation to build something new, to make space for what fits now, not what once did. So if you're standing in that space right now, unsure, untethered, undone, know this: you're not broken. You're being rebuilt. And that's something to honor, not fear. You thought you were lost, but maybe you were just arriving. Not in the way people usually celebrate, not with clarity or confidence or a perfect plan, but with rawness, with honesty, with a heart that finally stopped pretending. This is the turning point, and it doesn't look how you expected. It's not a finish line. It's not a thunderous moment of revelation. It's quieter than that, more human than that. It's the first time you don't scroll past your own discomfort. It's the first time you stay in the room with your pain, not to fix it, not to run, just to be with it. You're no longer asking, "What should I do?" You're starting to ask, "What feels true?" That one shift changes everything. You stop chasing versions of yourself built for approval. You stop forcing connections that no longer hold your spirit. You stop apologizing for needing space, for craving more, for evolving. And in the silence that follows, you finally hear it. The voice. Not loud, but certain. The one that's been there all along, whispering beneath the noise, beneath the roles, beneath the armor. It says, "You're not too late. You're not too far gone. You're exactly where you need to be." And maybe that doesn't erase the fear. Maybe you'll still wake up some mornings wondering, is this really okay? To not know, to not have it all figured out. But now you'll answer yourself more gently, with patience, with truth. Because clarity never arrives all at once. It builds in the choices you make when no one is watching. In the way you forgive yourself for all the ways you once disappeared just to feel accepted. In the way you learn to breathe through the not knowing and trust that it's enough. This is your new chapter, not the shiny one, but the real one. The one where you say, "I may not have all the answers, but I'm done pretending I'm okay with less than what's honest." You didn't find this message by accident. It found you because a part of you, maybe the quietest part, was ready to be heard. And now, you don't need to explain. You don't need to perform. You don't need to go back. You're already enough right here in the middle of your own becoming. So take a breath. Let the old fall away. Let the silence stay a little longer. Let your truth settle into your bones. Because from this moment forward, you don't have to wait for permission. You already have it. To begin again, to honor the pull, to walk into the unknown and call it home. This was never the breakdown. It was always the breakthrough. Not every beginning needs to roar. Some of the most powerful ones begin with a whisper, a breath, a choice so small no one else would even notice. Like deciding to stay in bed 5 more minutes, not out of laziness, but because your body needed softness more than structure. Like saying no to something that used to define you, not because you're ungrateful, but because you've finally outgrown it. Like telling the truth not to the world but to yourself. That is where the real beginning lives. You've walked through fire to get here, but fire wasn't meant to be your home. It was only meant to burn away what could no longer stay. And now, what remains is you. Tired maybe, bruised, changed, but intact, still breathing, still reaching, still here. And maybe for the first time, you realize you don't need to rebuild who you used to be. You're not meant to go back. You're meant to go forward, but slower, softer, wiser. The world will try to rush you. It will hand you deadlines and pressures, tell you to bounce back, to get it together, to look strong. But you know better now. You've met your soul in the silence. You've seen how strength looks nothing like the movies. Real strength. It's the way you choose presence over perfection. It's the way you let yourself cry, then get up, without needing to pretend nothing happened. It's the way you protect your peace, even when people don't understand, especially when they don't understand. You are allowed to begin again, and you're allowed to begin gently. You don't have to have a 5-year plan. You don't need a shiny new identity. You just need to take the next true step. Even if it's just breathing deeper than yesterday. Even if it's just learning to be kind to yourself when the old patterns resurface. Even if all you do today is not run. That is enough. Healing doesn't happen in leaps. It happens in fragments, in moments of honesty, in quiet decisions no one applauds but you. And that's okay, because you weren't meant to perform your healing. You were meant to live it. So let the beginning be what it is: imperfect, invisible, incomplete. Let it be real. Let it be yours. Because the softest step forward is still a step. And sometimes, softness is the strongest choice of all.